What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to talk about some comments that the actor John Boyega made in regards to his dating preferences. And I know that this happened a while ago, and I meant to make a video about it sooner, but I got sidetracked. However, I'm back on track now, so I want to touch on this topic and really talk more about how this relates to the Black community, but more specifically, Black women. So a quick rundown before I read this article that really touches on the topic more. But a quick rundown. Basically, John Boyega said that his dating preferences exclusively are Black women. Yes, Black women are exclusively John Boyega's dating preference. And, he even said something to the effect of, melanin levels have to be at least past 75%. And, there were some people who were ecstatic about it, Black women. And there were some people who were like, I don't like that. Non-Black women, especially white women. And I'll say that these are segments, like segments of Black women are a segment of Black women who, rejoiced, and a segment of non-Black women who took issue with it. So I'm going to read this article that People magazine posted on their website. And the title of the article is John Boyega Says He Only Dates Black Women, Reveals What He's Looking For in a Partner. So I'm going to read through this article and I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions as I go, and also provide more commentary after finishing reading the article. So here we go. John Boyega knows exactly what he wants in a partner. In an interview with British GQ, published September 13th, the Star Wars actor, 30, said that now that he's in his 30s, both work and his personal life are a priority, quote unquote. Quote unquote, I'm 30 now, from 28. I just worked on getting peace and getting myself together, he told the magazine. Quote unquote, moving with honesty and transparency, no misleading, no lying, and being devoted to what I commit myself to. Okay, so it sounds like John Boyega hitting 30 helped to give him more clarity about what he wants and, who he is as a person and how that relates to what he wants. Wonderful. Let's continue. Quote unquote. Oh, skip that. No quote unquote just yet. So now that he's ready to think more seriously about finding love, John Boyega said he's specific in what he wants in a partner. Okay, here it come now. Here it come now, y'all. It's about to come up now. Quote unquote, I only date Black, he said. Then it's about chemistry, personality, goals. Is there a synergy? Can I help you? Can you help me? So, okay, John Boyega, he said something. He said he only dates Black women. And a lot of people took issues with this comment. Of course, a lot of people liked the comment too. And then there was a group of people who just didn't care either way it went. But I feel like the fact that this isn't already an assumption says a lot in itself. And what I mean by that is, like when it comes to other groups of men, like say white men, Asian men, Hispanic men, etc., it's assumed that they date their women, at least preferentially. Like, their preference, at least, is leaning towards their own women, you know, and as well, sometimes it's assumed that they only date their own women too. So the fact that this isn't being assumed with a black male entertainer says a lot. Yeah. I do think that this is a bold statement because John Boyega is an entertainer, and oftentimes people, both men and women, like entertainers. Have crushes on entertainers, are infatuated with entertainers, people who are in the spotlight. And, you know, by John Boyega making a statement like this, it may alienate him from potential fan bases that he has or could possibly have. But on the flip side, it does help to endear him to his black female fan base. And I will say that I think that, John Boyega, he has been outspoken about, topics dealing with racism. And I do think that it is good that he is sending a message with his dating preference. Not that dating preferences should be political and politicized, because I don't necessarily think that they should be. But unfortunately, if you are talking about topics dealing with, black people, the black community, racism, marginalization, biases, etc., it would send an odd message for John Boyega to talk about those things, but then have like a non-black woman on his arm that he's bringing to all these movie premieres and promotional events and award shows, etc. And I think this is something that black men seem to not grasp or want to grasp, particularly the black men who are more on the political side and who are speaking out about issues affecting, the community. But it's because of that, John Boyega doesn't come off as perhaps being, pro-black man. It's more so coming off as being pro-black people. Because when, like black male entertainers or public figures come out and speak about racism and things like that, but have like a non-black woman on their arm, sometimes, if not a lot of the times, it comes off as being like more so pro-black male versus pro-black people. Their pro-blackness consistently skips over black women. And as I've said in previous videos, I'm very suspicious when, people's pro-blackness consistently skips over black women, especially like darker skinned black women. And it's even more suspicious that, there's a segment of people in our community who want to find excuse after excuse after excuse to defend it. Both black men and black women. So long story short, I do commend John Boyega for making such a bold statement. I just hope that he can stand by the statement, one, because, times change, people change, folks change, right? It's just a part of being a human being and living for a long period of time. Or at least potentially can change, because there's some people who have been the same for over 20 years, and it's like, really? You really the same person at 20 as you are at 40? And speaking to negative personality traits and negative ways. But I also hope that it doesn't affect his bag, his opportunities. But, the actor Denzel Washington, he's been seemingly, he hasn't, come right out and said it, but I feel like it can be assumed based on, you know, his words and actions that basically he's, black female only. And, folks let Denzel Washington live. And, Denzel Washington has had a very illustrious career. So perhaps John Boyega can do the same thing. As long as he doesn't go too hard in the paint about it, Because it's one thing to say it's your preference. It's another thing to just go on and on about it. Like how some folks do in the black community. Where it's like, okay, fine, we know that's your preference. Keep it pushing. Just say it's your preferences. Keep it pushing. And really, a lot of times folks didn't even ask to hear about your preference. You just volunteered it. But that's another story. Let's get back to this story, though. So let's continue with this article. John Boyega added, quote unquote, I'm very disciplined in the type of women I speak to. They don't want you in their business. John Boyega said that he looks to his own parents, who have been together for 35 years, as inspiration. Quote unquote, being in the public eye. They would prefer if you had the wife and family, he said. It's the ultimate PR package. But my parents have been together for 35 years. There's nothing that this world can do in terms of pressure to make me be inspired by anything else but my parents, quote unquote. All right, so seemingly, apparently, John Boyega's dad was not taken out of the home by government cheese and EBT cards. So kudos to John Boyega's dad, as well as his mom too, for providing a great example. Well, from what he said, I don't know for sure. But, providing an example of like a married couple for 35 years. Perhaps maybe that is a factor in why John Boyega is more, perhaps, marriage-minded and family-oriented. Because, there'll be people who harp on marriage and saying marriage ain't nothing but a piece of paper. Oh, you can get cheated on if you marry. Oh, that ring don't mean a thing. Just be happy you got a black kind, etc. Right? But the thing is, it may be a piece of paper, but that piece of paper does hold weight, right? After all, money is just a piece of paper when you think about it, but what money represents, what that piece of paper represents, it does hold weight. So, if we want folks to be more family oriented and marriage minded within the black community, and I'm speaking about more so from an American's perspective, we have to provide people with an example of that. Examples, we need examples. Let's be real. When we learning things, we need examples. And marriage does help to facilitate that family structure and that family environment. And of course, there are situations where, the ring didn't mean a thing. The ring really didn't mean a thing. But are those the typical situation, or are those situations outliers? And I know that, divorces happen, families, their structure change due to divorces and, situations. But still, having an example of, a happy married couple somewhere in your life at least somewhere in your family. Perhaps you may have to see it on television or something. And I think that's why, folks in the community especially black women in the community, they be like so, invested with like, oh, couples goal. Oh, look at this celebrity couple. Look at that celebrity couple. Uh-oh, that's couple goal right there. Mm-hmm. Particularly when it comes to, black couples, black women are like, hey, that's what's up. And I think that when they do that, I think they are searching for, an example of, a happily married couple or just even just a happy couple, married or not. So, marriage not only has the financial benefits, especially for women, but lately men been taking advantage of these financial benefits too. Like being able to be put on someone's insurance policy who you're married to, being entitled to spousal support, alimony, and in the case of there not being a will in place, if your spouse dies, everything defaults to the other, to the spouse that the person was married to, or the person that the spouse was married to. And of course, there are other benefits. Those are just the ones I can think of off the top of my head. Financial benefits, of course. But of course, as I said, it goes beyond the financial benefits. If the marriage is like a truly healthy marriage. But let's continue with this article. Last month, while appearing on Sirius XM's Bevelations, host Bevy Smith asked the Golden Globe winner to confirm he likes quote unquote brown and thick women. I didn't know that John Boyega won Golden Globe, or a Golden Globe award. Okay. So kudos to him. So the article goes on to say, quote unquote, well, we've got to be honest, before I wouldn't have said that at 27, 28. Now I'm like, no, you got to speak it into existence, Boyega explained. All right, he's going to speak his black queen into existence, y'all. I know the black women who are black male only, are black men only, and I know they're loving it. They're loving hearing this. John Boyega explained, quote unquote, brown and thick. Melanin levels past 75%. Thick levels. You got to be looking good. All right, so it sounds like, from what he's saying, because, right now this is just words, but this is what we got to go on here. And that's what's up. That's what's up. Ain't nothing wrong with that in itself, but there's some things I do got to say about that. But I'll save them for a little later in this video. But it looks like John Boyega, he's being seemingly specific in the phenotype as well, because that's the thing too, when it's like, black men who come out and say that they like black women, or perhaps even are black women only in terms of their dating preferences. It's like, okay, we got past the racial preference. That's good. But sometimes when it comes to black men, some, especially some who have reached a certain level of fame and fortune and have access to, a variety of women, sometimes it can be like a colorism aspect that you have to deal with too. For the black women out there. Because sometimes these dudes be coming through talking about the black and the berry, the sweet and the choo-choo, the black and the berry, the sweet and the cherry, right? And all that, pro-blackity black stuff, right? And then, when you see them with their baby mama, spouse, fiance, wife, whatever, It's like, oh, oh, I didn't expect that. Then it goes from black of the cherry to, creamy of the mayo. And it's like, well, they ain't mayo. They ain't mayo, nuh-uh. She black too. She black just like us. Y'all being colorist because y'all separating her from blackness. And it's true, the sister probably isn't looking like mayo. More like, hummus. Mustard. Dijon mustard. Spicy mustard. But she ain't looking like black of the cherry, the sweet of the juice, though. And ultimately, folks have a right to like what they like, you know. But if you're misleading people to think that you like something that you don't like, then I think that's partly where the issue comes in. And we've seen that play out with Kendrick Lamar. And then when these situations do play out, like with Kendrick Lamar, then all of a sudden, the black community, especially black men, all of a sudden know what colorism is and are applying it to this situation and saying that, oh, you saying that this light-skinned sister ain't black? You saying that she ain't black because she ain't dark like you? You being colorist toward her. I swear y'all be so colorist, so jealous, so angry, so bitter. And then y'all wonder why y'all ain't got nobody. Y'all need to stop trying to police black man preferences and stuff. And I do think that black women are slowly getting to a point where they don't, slowly just little by little starting not to care about black men's preferences. And I really don't think that's what black men as a collective really want. Because for some reason, I really do think that the black men who get the heat, they want black women to care about the preference that they have. Whether it's for non-black women, non-black adjacent women, black women, whatever. One way or another, I think black men want black women to care about their preference. Because if John Boyega came through and said that his preference was, brown skin, dark skin black women who are thick and whatnot, and black women were like, so, we don't care. Then black men would come through and be like, see, nothing ever good enough for you black women. I swear. This why us brothers don't want to deal with y'all and y'all attitudes and y'all weed and y'all diabetes. That's why we getting our passports and going to other countries and dealing with the real claims. We going to Brazil. We going to the Philippines. We going to Colombia. Because those women know how to appreciate brothers. And they don't be wearing weave and lace front wigs every day. But don't get it twisted, black women. The finish line, it always changes. The finish line is almost like just being on an endless, never-ending path. Trying to get to a finish line when it comes to dealing with these dudes with this particular mindset. Basically, the game is rigged. You're not going to reach the finish line. And by the finish line, I mean arriving to a point where like black men will concede the points that you made and, come back home to black women. If they're going to come home, they're going to come home. If they're going to leave home, they're going to leave home. If they want to go, let them go. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't really do anything with someone who wants to go anyway, right? Someone who doesn't value blackness anyway. What can you do with that? But let's continue with this article here. So John Boyega turned to none other than Robert Downey Jr. and Orlando Bloom for dating advice before his career took off with his 2000 debut in the Star Wars universe. Quick sidebar, it seemed like a lot of these black British actors are scooping up the roles that probably should be going to black American actors. I'm just saying. These non-ADOS folks coming through and taking our opportunities. Well, I'm not an actor. I don't plan on being an actor like that. But, I'm sure there are some black men out there who enjoy acting and who would love to have had a breakout role in the Star Wars universe. And especially this black person would be the token black person in Star Wars, But John Boyega says, quote unquote, "It was time for me to sit down with someone who's been through the extremes of Hollywood and to be given some tips on how to stay stable." John Boyega told GQ in 2017, explaining that conversation turned to the topic of women. Interesting. Quote unquote, "And people advise you as a celebrity, make sure you get someone who doesn't care about your career," Boyega noted. Boyega noted. The actor disagreed with that take, telling his new mentors she has to care about it to understand it. Okay, so John Boyega, it looks like he wants the women, so the black, fit, curvy women that he's with, you're going to have to understand his career, right? So his career may have him being away from you for a long period of time. Perhaps you can accompany him on certain ups, perhaps not. So the black woman that he ends up with is going to have to be understanding. For the black women out there, can you be understanding of something like this? But on the flip side, I think that you may have to experience something like this before you can say whether yay or nay, because on paper, it's well, okay, sure. But then when you actually are living it, it's wow, well, this isn't quite what I thought it was going to be. So I wonder if Robert Downey Jr. and Orlando Bloom are, his true mentors, or is it just they just happen to be in the same building and doing interviews and whatnot, and they just happen to speak with each other? Just wondering, But, when it comes to mentorship within any industry, really, but especially the entertainment industry, right? Does John Boyega have any black mentors? Are black people open to mentoring, or, open to mentoring John Boyega? I'm just wondering, right? I'm not trying to be shady or anything, just wondering. But if they truly are his mentors, then I think, hey, that's a great opportunity and a great resource. Use it. I don't think it would quite match up with the pro-black stance, but, sometimes that happens. I'd rather it not matching up with something like this with career and money versus when it comes to the personal aspect of it, like the love life. So that's the end of the article. So I'm going to go into some commentary that I want to speak on and touch on when it comes to this, and just put it out there, get my thoughts and opinions, try to get your thoughts and opinions. So let's go. So in regards to black women and their reaction to this, should this be a big deal that John Boyega exclusively prefers and wants black women, as a dating preference? Should it be a big deal? And I kind of want black women to take a minute to unpack why it is a big deal for them. The ones that it is, of course. Not all black women think it's a big deal. Of course not. And I feel like it's partially a big deal because, black women aren't used to seeing black men in the industry taking a stance like this. And as well, I feel like the community in general has socialized black women to be very much black male oriented, black male centered, black male worshiping, as some people may call it, black male only when it comes to dating preferences. and, just very much centering the black man, and particularly the black man, but also the plight of the black man. And also, like, another question, should John Boyega get a Black Cane trophy from black women for this, just for having this preference or just stating this preference? And on one hand, I can understand black women giving the Black Cane trophy because, you oftentimes want to encourage people to continue doing positive, engaging in positive behavior. So on one hand, I can understand it coming from that perspective, but I don't think black women are operating from that perspective. I think that the black women who are giving out the Black Cane trophies are just giving them out because the standard is just so low that it's just like any little thing that a black man does that's halfway decent and positive, relating to black women especially, is worthy of a Black Cane trophy, right? Although, when it comes to black men giving out Black Queen trophies, black men seem to have higher standards for black women. And I don't really, correct me if I'm wrong and provide an example, but I don't know of a time where a black woman was given a Black Queen trophy or a Black Queen trophy simply for preferring black men, phenotypically unambiguous brown skin, dark skin black men. If that has happened, again, please let me know and provide receipts. And the fact that the black women don't get Black Queen trophies for that, I think a part of it is just that it's just assumed. I think black men just assume that black women prefer and date exclusively black men. Especially brown skin, dark skin, unambiguous black men. So why give out a Black Queen trophy to something that isn't really anything new, special, or a big deal? And as I mentioned earlier in this video, please be mindful that colorism and featureism, texturism, all that wrapped into one, could play a factor as well. Or, it is a factor, at least potentially. And I think this is just rumored. I don't know if this is true or not, but some folks were saying that John Boyega and Lori Harvey are kind of dating or whatever. I don't know. That's just rumor mill. I just heard it. So disclaimer, that's a rumor. But if it is true, then as I said, it's not only the racial factor that black women have to deal with, but it's also the colorism factor too. And, he was very specific about, a skin tone, brown skin, melanin levels past 75%. I don't know if he's doing an ancestry DNA test on the women that he's going to be dating, or he's just going to be dating from a specific pool of black women who are perhaps, directly from Africa. I don't know. Okay, a quick sidebar, and this is like very much off topic, but y'all know how the fashion industry tends to gravitate towards like African models versus like maybe African American models or perhaps even Afro-Latina models, more so African models though. And a lot of people say that, oh, it's because of the features being, I guess, looking a certain way. The features, right? And I think that could be a possibility too. But I think it's also just because these fashion industry folks are majority white people. And the thing is, when it comes to African models, I think the African models are more open to swirling. And because of that, I think that they're given more opportunities in the fashion industry. Think about the supermodels who are black who have gone very far in the industry. Many of them were swirlers, whether they were African American models or African models. Basically, what it is like, hey, if we gonna, put you up, if we gonna put you on, then you gotta let white daddy get on. That seems to be, you know, what's really going on. But back to topic though. But I really, hey, I just hope that John Boyega can really, just stay true. Just stay true, stay on this path, and that's what's up. I just hope that he doesn't end up disappointing black women in his dating choices. And, there's a group of black men who think that black women should support black male entertainers and just black men in general, no matter who the black man is with, no matter who he's with. Black women need support. And many black women do that. But it's like, well, for one, I do find it a bit weird that the black men are being very vocal about it, saying, oh, black women should support these black men, which I find it's a bit odd just because, well, the black man isn't you. So why do you care if the black woman or black women support or not? Since you're not going to be benefiting directly from it. But I'm speculating that perhaps maybe they view themselves in the men that black women are supporting or are not supporting, and perhaps even want the option to go outside of the community but still get the support of the community, which largely comes from black women. Let's be real. So these dudes go outside of the community, have their kids outside of the community too, bring their kids back into the community, have their kids perpetuate colorism, whether knowingly or unknowingly, because we got to classify them as black. We just got to classify them as black. And black women have to go along and support it all. No matter if it's their downfall. But the thing is, when you are supporting entertainers, I think sometimes there's like a fantasy aspect to it, whereas like some folks fantasize about being with the entertainer or whatever. And I think when the entertainer comes out and says that they have a specific dating preference, that can kill the fantasy for a lot of people. And a lot of people don't want to pay into something that they feel they don't get a benefit from. Why pay if you can't play? And black men aren't paying if they can't play. Black men ain't paying if they ain't playing. Let's be real. But it's expected that black women are to do that. And, folks will use black women's maternal instinct to manipulate them. Like, oh, what about the sons out there? The black male sons. Well, the black sons. The black sons. And then black women, oh, that's right. I do got a son. I do got a black son. But that's a whole nother video, though. Right? But before I go, I guess there's just one more thing I want to touch on, and that is, some black women, perhaps being shamed for being happy about John Boyega's dating preference, and being called Pygmisha. Folks want to shame black women because they happy that a black king want a black queen. Got the nerve to call black women like that Pygmisha. Shaming us because we want to be picked by black kings. Girl, that's a shame. Well, hey, if I'm Pygmisha, then y'all are bedwench Keishas. Yes, I did say it. Bedwench Keishas. And I'd rather be a Pygmisha any day of the week over being a bedwench Keisha. Okay? So don't come for me, bedwench Keisha. Okay? But That's all I gotta say for the moment. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. And until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.